In D2L, there are several ways professors can control whether or not course materials are currently available to their students. In this video, I'll discuss the draft versus published feature in content, which is the simplest way to control availability. Draft versus published is a simple on-off switch for anything you have in the D2L content area. If you go to the page displaying any particular item of content, you'll see it in the lower right. Currently, this file is published and visible to my students. If I shift it to draft, it is only visible to me and is no longer visible to my students. For items in draft, my students cannot access the file or resource and do not even see its title in its parent module. For an individual topic anywhere in the content area, it's that simple. If I'm viewing a module, I can shift the status of multiple topics between draft and published in at least two ways. One is to choose Bulk Edit. After I do that, I see a drop-down to the right of each item, and I can pick and choose which items I'd like to change to draft or published. Then I hit Done Editing when I'm all set. Even easier is if I want to shift an entire module's worth of content into draft or published. I can do this while viewing that module in the center left viewer and using the drop-down menu to the upper right. There is an important caveat or exception to this that I'll discuss in just a second. When I switch a module to draft, the entire module, including its title in the left-hand list, is no longer visible to my students. Of course, since I'm the instructor, I can still see, click, enter, and otherwise modify all of this content. Anyone enrolled with an instructor, staff, or teaching assistant role in your course can see content that you have in draft. If assignment collecting Dropboxes, discussion topics, or quizzes are built into your content modules, they also appear in their own areas accessible to you and your students. You can see them via links on the navbar. So can your students. Any Dropbox, discussion, or quiz has a status in their own spaces that corresponds to their draft or published state in content. So for example, let's go to the Dropbox area. If I have a Dropbox that's in draft over in content, it's hidden here in the Dropbox area. And I can even get to the feature using the editor here. Click the drop-down menu, choose Edit Folder, go to the Restrictions tab, and I can check or uncheck Hidden from Users. Currently it is hidden because it's in draft over in the content area. So that's an interchangeable toggle. So too with discussions and with quizzes. However, here is an important limitation. Dropbox's discussion topics and quizzes do not inherit a draft state from their parent module. So, if in content I put a module into draft, any Dropbox's discussions or quizzes are no longer available to students in the content area because this whole module is no longer visible. However, if a student goes to the Dropbox area, she will see that Dropbox, even if it's not available to her in content, because itself, that Dropbox does not have a draft state. Therefore, if I want Dropboxes to have a draft state across my D2L course space, I need to establish that state for every individual Dropbox. This is also the case with discussions and quizzes. This can be tedious if you have a lot of Dropboxes, discussions, or quizzes. Therefore, it might be easier instead to set visibility governing start and end dates on Dropboxes, discussions, and quizzes, and for that matter, content, modules, and topics generally, instead of using draft versus published. Plus, by using visibility dates, you can program ahead of time when something becomes available or unavailable to your students. See our other tutorials for details on using start and end dates. While Dropbox's discussions era quizzes involve more complications in the use of draft versus published state, files you upload to D2L or web pages you create in D2L do not. For example, since this PowerPoint slide deck only appears to my students in this content module, if this module is in draft, they simply can't get to these PowerPoint slides. So too with this web page. Lastly, recognize also that your course has a master start and end date available via the Edit Course page and the Course Offering Information page. By default, these start and end dates are turned on and are set to start a few days before the semester begins and to end a few days after the semester ends. You can change these dates, but understand that even if all of your course content is published in the content area, if it is before the course start date, your students cannot access it. If it's after the course end date, your students cannot access it.